Mary Coustas, welcome to Grace Lam meNOTpause mini IG series. As I call you, Mary Couscous. Please let us know what do you do and share your perimenopause journey.
Okay, well, I'm an actress, writer, podcaster, thanks to you and
Yes.
Mamamia and Unleashed, and our pussy posse, as I like to call them. I'm an author. I've written 3 books, and my recent one was called MaryPause, about menopause. I'm also a co-founder of a digital health startup for midlife women, specializing in menopause, called UnPause. And like you, I just want to, put the spotlight on this issue that is not really an issue. It's a natural part of life, right? But for some reason, there's a lot of taboo around it, and I just don't understand why. But we're not alone in trying to revolutionize the menopause space. Thankfully, there's a lot of great women doing this at the moment, and we've joined that big group, that sisterhood that are trying to do it for themselves, in the words of Annie Lennox and Aretha Franklin. My menopause journey was very fraught. It was complicated. I took a decade to become a mum, and that decade was in my 40s. So I wasn't thinking about Perry, I was thinking about IVF during that decade. And no doubt in between all the cycles, of which there were 23, that I was being affected by perimenopause. But I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at, of course, I'm going to be down in the dumps because I had another failed attempt, or I'd lost a child, or I've miscarried, or this is really taking longer than I thought, or I'm running out of hope, and all those other things. But I think always, for me, the exclamation mark was perimenopause, because it was pretty severe. And then I finally got to my 23rd attempt, and I fell pregnant. And now I have my beautiful daughter, Jamie, who's 12 and a half. And at my happiest moment, menopause was waiting around the corner, good and proper this time. And it really knocked me for a six in ways that I couldn't have anticipated, psychologically more than anything.
Yeah.
I think. It's different when you see physical symptoms that are obviously menopausal, then you can identify it to menopause. But I think, like a lot of women would relate to this, it's such a complicated, sophisticated, and somewhat familiar thing to be in discomfort as a woman. So our tolerance is very high. And unless it's screaming menopause, you don't think it's menopause.
Right.
You think it's life pressures. You think it's, just wear and tear and getting older and all these other things. But it is severe, and it certainly was that for me. So I had to come to the conclusion myself that it was menopause, but it took me many years to come to that conclusion. And my issue wasn't physical. My issue was primarily psychological. It was really devastating for me psychologically. I felt so low in the happiest moments of my life, and I felt completely and utterly devastated by not understanding why is this happening. I don't understand it. I finally got what I wanted. I couldn't be happier, and yet I feel so overwhelmed. I think I'm having a heart attack. I feel like I'm full of grief, which, I've had a lot of grief in my life, so I'm familiar with that, but it felt worse than other points in my life. So I sort of had to diagnose myself in the end, because I kept going, well, it's not that, and it's not this, and it's not that. And then the last thing that I got to was, well, it must be menopause. So I went and saw a GP.
So
And
did the perimenopause happen right after you gave birth?
yeah,
Wow.
because I think it was like a year after I gave birth, I hadn't had a period. So it was menopause.
Yeah.
Not even peri. And yeah, I was.
And did you know
completely-
much about
Nothing.
peri or menopause before?
I don't know. I just think that I was part of the problem too. I think a lot of women are. I think a lot of humanity is.
Yeah.
I don't think we know enough about it. I think we put it off. I think we think it only affects some people. I think it's hard work for us to get our mind around it. We want to feel vibrant and capable and relevant and visible and all of those other things. And it's a bit like, I liken it to tax or death. It's something we don't want to think about.
Yeah.
You know, we'll put it off. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. I've been told that I should be thinking about that more, or it's coming for me. But it wasn't spoken about nearly enough for me to really put it in my sights. Plus, I missed out on the peri conversation because I was in the IVF arena during that point. So I didn't get that decade of starting to come to terms with it. I was elsewhere during that point. So when the big show hit, menopause, I was completely ill-equipped.
And did you ask your mom about it, or did you talk to any like girlfriends or relatives or someone who's been through
My
it?
girlfriends brought it up, but by then they were already on top of it.
Right.
They were like, I was in my mid to late 50s when it clocked that it was menopause. My girlfriends had dealt with it in their 40s and were on the, you know, the treatment that they needed and were balancing their hormones out and were feeling okay about it. Plus their symptoms were different to mine. So when they would talk about what their symptoms were, they weren't the same as mine. So I was like, well, maybe it's not menopause. Maybe it is grief.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm having a heart attack. My dad had one at 33. Of course, I'm going to think I'm having a heart
Yeah.
attack when I'm having palpitations. And of course, I'm going to get interrupted sleep. I'm a new mum, or, I just want to check that my baby's okay. Or, you can justify anything, can't you? But it's only when you really understand what's involved that you feel really, ready to do something about it. And then, do something greater than just meet my own needs. And that is to try be one of those megaphones for all women.
And did you go to a GP straight away when you start feeling like, oh, this is not right?
Yeah, when I came to my own conclusion that it had to be menopause, I booked an appointment with a GP immediately, and it was a woman, and because I figured she would know about it. Not really.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did she say to you? Did she deny it or?
She firstly, I think she thought I needed to be on antidepressants.
Oh,
And
God, that old story, that pisses me off.
yeah. And I was like, trust me, I've had many reasons to be depressed. This is not who I am. And then I said to her, I think I'm depleted. I'm not depressed. And there's a difference. And I said, I want you to check my hormones. And she was like, I looked at my age and like, oh God, you would have known by now. And then when I told her my backstory of, what I spent my 40s doing, and that was doing IVF, then she started to come around, and I pretty much insisted that she check my hormones, and then she did. And I've said this before, 1000% she was menopausal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she needed to diagnose herself or get somebody else to diagnose her. But I could tell you from her nature, from her shortness, and there was an impatience, there was a frustration, there was a denial, there was all of those sorts of things. Anyway, she's not a bad person. You get lost in the haze, and you lose part of yourself in that haze until you see the light. And then she rang me 2 days later, and she said, "Yeah, your levels are negligible. Your estrogen's so low, and so is your progesterone." Remarkably, my testosterone was fine. I was high functioning.
Yeah.
I was still working a lot, which I needed. I needed that psychologically. I needed to get out of my head, out of my home, and to go out and do what I do, which is fun and funny, and it really gives me a great thrill, and luckily the audience as well. So once she told me that, then I went and got everything checked. Everything. My heart, my bone density, my breasts, my everything. And then
Did she suggest HRT?
I actually went to a different doctor for that.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go to someone who knows about it.
Yeah.
And there aren't enough people that know about it. Not enough doctors know about it. But I found one that did. And then we've gone into business together.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you first started taking? Are you taking patches or?
No, I'm on the gel, and I'm on the progesterone little soft round.
And did the gel work straight away?
I wasn't expecting everything to start working the next day or even the next week. I knew that the balance would take a while to kick in. But if it was 80% improvement, I was so happy with that.
Yes.
I was going to take that above zero.
Yeah.
And I also think that the 20%, if we're trying to get to the 100, I think is unrealistic. 20% is just life stuff that's going to happen that's not hormonal. That is just a million of those other things, what I call the midlife demolition, right? Aging parents, children that have needs, careers that need attention, marriages that need attention, stuff that happens in life. So, yeah, I think, maybe a couple of months in, I started to feel like myself again.
Yeah. So that's really lucky already. I mean, my HRT worked straight away, which I
Yeah.
was very lucky with the patches. But again, we have a shortage of patches, like, which is a nightmare to
Yeah.
buy. So from that, I mean, I your GP story is very similar to mine. That mine didn't know much either, and she was Asian, and that's why I chose her. Because of that reason, is that why you started your telehealth UnPause clinic?
Yeah.
And tell us the story, why and how you got the whole thing together.
Well, firstly, it started from any time I find myself backed into a corner about anything that I find difficult. If I write about it, it helps me understand what happened. And it's like a therapy of sorts. I did that with race when I was younger, and thankfully that birthed a lot of success in, putting our stuff out there with Wogs Out of Work and Acropolis Now and shows like that and all the shows I've done since. Then it was class and gender, and then IVF with the book before this last one that I wrote about, my journey there, my loss of my daughter Stevie. It just helps me. I never think it's going to end up being a book, but then I write so much, it sort of almost writes itself into a book. And certainly with the whole menopause thing, I thought if I'm informed, which I am, very connected to a lot of women, very passionate about women's issues, if I'm caught unaware that this huge thing was happening to me, and I didn't identify it as what it needed to be identified as, then there must be so many millions of women out there that are doing exactly the same. So then I just started writing my book, and then I realized that I could use my platform to help not only talk about the problem, but to offer a solution. In my book, I say I'd rather shop for shoes than doctors. But there's a lot of doctor shopping happening because not enough doctors are informed. And women having to go to 3, 4, 5 doctors. The public menopause clinics are so popular, you can't get in for 6 months. So I was like, where do women go when they need this need met that is democratic, that can be found by anyone, and that is online? And one of the few good things that came out of COVID is that we were able to get, telehealth, get into the digital way of being seen by doctors. And so, yeah, I made it my mission to find the best doctors I could. And together with my co-founder, we came from more a consumer position.
Yeah.
She's a cancer survivor. She's a late in life mom. She suffered through menopause as well. I'm a late in life mom. I suffered through menopause. So we come at it from, if I was a patient going to see a doctor, what would the experience I want look like? So we tried to find the best doctors we could, and we've got great doctors that are very committed to women, particularly in midlife. And that doesn't mean just menopause, but all the little things that come from menopause that you want to keep an eye on. And we wanted to put it somewhere that women that live in rural areas that may be an hour away from a GP, that GP may or may not know about menopause, that they can jump online and be seen to.
Yeah. I mean, how hard was it to put the whole thing together? What are the most challenging things?
The most challenging thing was not the brand or the idea. It was finding the best doctors we could and raising money to make sure we can put it on its feet. So we birthed this thing, but then it's got to stand up, it's got to walk, and then eventually it's got to fly. Because the more women that the UnPause doctors can see, the more success we're having with treating women that really desperately need it. And I'm very motivated by keeping women in the workforce, because I thank God that I didn't give up working when I was going through menopause, because I think that would have been the final straw for me. My work is such a huge part of where I put my energy and where I can express what I see of the world and what I want to highlight and do all that sort of stuff with, and just bring joy into the world. So I think I would have suffered greatly if I'd given up work. And many women are giving up their careers because they feel like something's got to give. And so, they end up tossing in their jobs because they don't want to throw in their marriages. They don't want to, do those other more family oriented or relationship oriented things that you don't want to lose. So they give up their work, and there's a huge price to pay for that, not only from the financial point of view for the women, but to be able to go out and do something in the world instead of being trapped in your mind or in your home is a big deal. But also, there's a huge cost involved for the companies that are losing all this great talent. You know, women that know what they do and do it brilliantly, that are leaving the workforce. Women have quarter less super than men.
Yeah.
And most women can't afford not to work for a million reasons.
Yeah. So the clinic is running itself now.
Yeah.
It's in business. If I was to log on and try to book an appointment,
Yep.
and how's the whole? Can you run me through the whole process? What a woman would expect?
Yeah. Okay, so you jump on and to unpause.com.au, and then there is a straight talking menopause guide that's done by our medical advisor, Dr. Natasha Andriadis, who's known as the Fanny Mechanic. She's brilliant. She's also a fertility doctor and passionate about women and menopause and hormonal stuff. So you can download that to see, you know, find out as much information about it as you can. And then you make an appointment to do an in-depth consultation. Now you fill out everything. So by the time you meet with that brilliant doctor, they know everything about your medical history, the type of, you know, experience you want to have, where your priorities are, you know, all of those things. And then so they start on the front foot. And that consultation is 45 minutes long. And so it gets pretty in depth very quickly. And they get almost like an X-ray psychologically and physically about where you're at and where you want to be at. And then it's a membership model that we've got. So for $49 a month, you are being seen to. It's a concierge service. So there are clinicians that check on everything, that see how you're going with balancing if you're on MHT, whether that's working, what your symptoms are. We've got a great app which has just gone live, which is fantastic, which tracks all your symptoms, which alerts the doctor. You know, you can just go in there quickly and put in how you're feeling, if your anxiety's up, if your sleep's not great, all of those sorts of things. And it alerts your doctor that something's not balanced right, or you're under more stress or whatever it is. And then you'll get a call from, you know, our nurse practitioners, and then they'll make an appointment with the doctor. Now, with that membership comes 4 doctor's visits a year, plus all the checking in, plus the app, which is like your medical, you know, HQ, and a lifeline to the doctor that you're close to. And
Which is amazing, actually, because I see my doctor every 6 months. You know, back in Perth when I lived there, I saw my doctor every 3 months, and I think that's a really good model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like a gym membership for your wellness.
Yeah.
And really, you'll get in there with menopause, but essentially, we want wellness and longevity to be the other priorities. Once you're balanced and you're feeling really good, and everything that you needed to check on was checked on, and you're feeling confident that you're back to where you need to be, and then we want to get in on, well, helping you thrive and having the most vibrant, you know, physical and community experience that you can have. So by sheer coincidence, you were speaking to someone
Kath,
that we're working with.
Yes.
Physiotherapist Kath, who will come in. We'll have a lot of allied health people that, you know, can support the women in any way that they need supporting, whether it's a naturopath, a physio, you know, whether it's a forensic accountant or a therapist, or we're building out this community of professionals that come highly recommended and that some of our doctors have worked with before, that can help you through this phase and just bring you the security and the safety and the confidence that you need in this period of life. So yeah, we're very excited by it.
So personally, do you take supplements, or what's your feeling about supplements and stuff?
Yeah, I have no issue with any of the stuff that I'm on. I know that it's not synthetic. Look, my dad had a heart attack at 33, so I watched someone take 20 pills a day for all of my life until he died, which was, at 50. He died when he was 59 and I was in my early 20s. So I'm not a big fan of taking a lot that I don't need, and anything natural and non-synthetic, I'm going to prioritize, obviously. So I think finally we're in that really safe space with a lot of these therapies, which is super exciting. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's something I will never give up. In fact, last night I was with a group of women and one mentioned that her mother is 98 and still on MHT and would never give it up.
Oh yeah. I literally, my last episode was with Kath, and we were saying that we're going to be on HRT MHT for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And for those who can take it and don't, you're missing out, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because it just, I'm so normal now.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise my husband, my son's going to get it every day, which is not good. So you have a daughter.
Yes.
How would you prep her, when she gets a bit older, or does she know much about perimenopause?
Well, she does now.
Yeah.
My co-founder, her daughter, who's like 8, said, Mama, why are you angry all the time? Like a lot of kids have that response to it. And, because you're at the end of your tether, you're trying to drive with no petrol in the tank. Yeah. And of course you're going to cough and splutter and you're not going to have the energy to do the speed range that you can and to accomplish what you could, because you're in deficit constantly. So my daughter knows a lot about it now, but here's the good thing: they know that you can do something about it. Yeah. And the more work that we do and other women like us, the more informed they'll be in the future, and they'll be ready for it.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first started this whole mini series, I was talking to my mother one day and I said, I've got to go, Mom, I've got to go interview somebody. And she said, oh, what are you talking about? I said, oh, perimenopause. She was like, why would you do that? Because to her, it needs to be hush hush.
Yeah.
She's like a boomer, right? And then first thing she said to me, she was like, oh, if you're going through menopause, don't take HRT. It will give you cancer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to have this conversation now, Mark, because I'm busy. But that's the kind of mindset that they have. And I'm so glad that we're at that stage that's been debunked.
Yeah.
Because...
But still, it's scarred a lot of women. Yes. And some women don't want to change their position on something, even if it's to the detriment of their own well-being. Like they just think, I've made a choice according to poor information that I got ages ago, and I'm not changing my mind on it. And that did a lot of damage, that information. It stopped a lot of women from getting treated. And when you look at the statistics, they're frightening. When you see that the number one period of suicide for women is between 45 and 55.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And when you see that, that's when divorces peak.
Yeah.
Then you need to look out as to why. What is happening during that period more than anything else? And it's happening to every woman. And most of those divorces are initiated by the women.
Yeah.
So they're not obviously getting what they need, separate to in the relationship perhaps. But also they're not feeling like they're able to cope. They're not coping. And you're not coping if your body isn't getting what it needs. And what it needs is hormones.
Yeah.
And those hormones have gone. So, you've seen my Effie stage show, yeah. And I talk about menopause as Effie in a way it's pretty liberating and educating at the same time and hilarious.
Funny. Yeah.
And, it's in the stage show, I liken it to menopause. What menopause means to Effie is that, this chicken's run out of eggs. This shop's having a closing down sale and Elvis has left the building, right?
Yes.
And the show can't go on. It's hard for the show to go on when all of those three things have happened.
Yeah.
And what are hormones, and the way that Effie sees it is like they're like Greek mothers. They tell the body what to do and when to do it, or they're like 24-hour Deliveroo drivers that deliver what the body needs. All the different parts of the body that rely on hormones that are now struggling because they don't have that. That's what people don't understand, is the damage that it does to so much of our wellness and how our body functions.
So when you were going through perimenopause, not having a good time, how did your husband take the whole thing? Like, did he understand? Like, did he trying to help you? What was going on?
He didn't know what was going on either. He just saw me change. because that's why they call it the change.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we changed.
Yeah.
You know, we were in uncharted territory. Now, I'd lost children. I'd, had done a decade of IVF. That wasn't as difficult to deal with as when I was menopausal and didn't know that that's what it was. That was, when you can't see, when you can't identify the problem,
Yes.
that's a massive problem.
Yes.
So as soon as I was able to come to the conclusion that it was menopause and then have that confirmed by a doctor, then suddenly we knew what it was. Not that it's a get out of jail free card for men, because they're not completely innocent
No.
to adding pressures at times. But he would tell you that I was in a very strange space.
Yeah.
And my daughter will probably tell you the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard on everyone.
It is.
So I've got your book here. Tell us your favorite chapter in this book that you wrote.
Well, there's a couple. There was the one where my mother-in-law ran me over.
What do you mean?
She didn't get me. No,
Clearly.
look, I've no doubt she's never taken anything until a few months ago.
Oh my God.
She had UTI after UTI after UTI. And weirdly, before I knew it was menopause, I didn't realize that UTIs were linked to estrogen.
Yes.
And I was hospitalized maybe 2 years ago. I was taken to emergency because I had such a severe UTI. And so many women die from these things.
Yep.
And of course, I was thinking it was sexual, and sex toys, and a million, like, what do you blame? You don't know. Most of us don't know it's connected to estrogen. My poor mother-in-law has had them constantly throughout her life. And then because of my experience, my book, my business, now I know. And she's finally stopped having them because she's gone on,
Estrogen.
on the replacement therapy. So she's fine. That was funny. She knocked over myself and my father-in-law. And I said to my husband, she could have had you all to herself. She screwed it up. That was funny. I talk about a day in the life of, like there's a section where I talk about a day that was particularly difficult for me, where I had to juggle a million things and do a show, just to sort of get your head around how miraculous us women are and how much we can achieve in a day, even under those conditions where you're just feeling completely overwhelmed and exhausted and, full of anxiety and all those things, and how I turned up to do a show.
Wow.
And the guy, they said, Robert will be the guy that you need to talk to. Get there. Hi, Robert. No, I'm not Robert. I'm John. Oh, hi, John. John would have to be the least talented tech guy I've ever worked with. I passed him a USB and he said, what do you want me to do with that? And I felt like saying, I've got some ideas, but maybe
my God.
plug it into a computer instead. Oh, he said, oh, yeah, the computer's on the stage. I'm at the back. The lights are in the wings of the... I was just like, this cannot be happening on this day, which is already impossible. And then finally, we found a guy who was collecting glasses in the other part of the place, and we got him to do the computer stuff and got another person to do something else. And while this guy just sat on his stool and went on and off with the microphone, and I was sitting backstage and I thought, I'm just going to go out and have the best time I've ever had. And I did. And the show went off. And that was the thing, that was the prize at the end of this excruciating day that was so stressful. And look, there's stuff like that. There's stuff around my relationship. There's a great Effie chapter. There's me trying to work it out. I liken myself to, when you watch those crime shows and you see the outline of the body, until I had it confirmed that it was menopause, I felt like I was the victim and the detective.
Right.
So I turn up and I see this outlined body, and it was mine, on the grass, and I'm trying to work out how could this have happened to this person? What was happening? So yeah, I felt like I was trying to work it out on my own for way too long. So like it's a light book. It has to be because the subject's so heavy.
Yeah.
And I think people need to bring some lightness to it, not to ridicule it, but to be able to talk about it in a way that feels less onerous. And the other thing I would really encourage people after reading this book is how important it is to have a great relationship with your doctor.
Yes.
That is the most important thing that you could do for yourself, is have a doctor that you trust, that gets you, that knows where you're at and that's trying to help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Also,
best
I think
part
it's
of it.
really important for women to know that you can also challenge your doctors, not in a mean way, but you need to educate yourself
Yeah.
and bring your knowledge, plus get the help from your doctor. And that is the best combo.
Yeah. Prior to UnPause, I've got maybe 4 different GPs on my phone. And lucky because I love people and I love my doctors, and I've got one for this and one for that and whatever, that I could, text, oh, I'm, running out of my, HRT. Can you send me an e-script and do it like that? But not many people have access to be able to chat to their doctor quickly from the convenience of their own phone or home. And that's what we want to do. We want to make it not inconvenient, not difficult. We want to take away all those factors that make getting treatment and getting looked at and finding the right person almost impossible at times.
Yeah. So one last question,
Yes.
Mary. What would you say, what's your message to our health minister, Mr.
Yeah.
Mark Butler, and Assistant Health Minister Rebecca White? What would be your message to them about women's health?
Okay, well, we know that women's health really impacts on men as well. I want
Yes.
to take it from that point of view. If those divorces are being initiated, the majority are being initiated by women, that's a problem for the men that don't want a divorce, right? We know that men do better professionally when they're married. So again, there's that aspect of it that is not the obvious thing about helping women. But if you are a man and you're not feeling particularly philanthropic, then maybe you can see it from a selfish point of view and say, well, I do better when I've got a healthy wife under my roof. From a professional point of view, my business does better when we have healthy females that we depend on to work in our business to make sure we are profitable. But the other thing is that things need to be spoken about, especially something that's going to affect 50% of the population 100% of the time. So we need it to be talked about. The National Awareness Campaign, big win, very happy about that. Thank you, Grace. Thank you to all the women that were fighting for that. That helps. But I'd like to see a couple of other things kick in. I'd like to see Medicare come good on a few other things, like the DEXA scan.
Yep.
If the age could drop on that, because we know bone density and bone wellness is super important for both men and women. But in this case, for women, if we could reduce that, because of perimenopause, we know that has an effect on our bones. If we could reduce that rebate to kick in at 50, 45 even better, then that would be a good thing. I think it's just general health housekeeping. Look, it would save the government a lot of money 100%. Because there'd be fewer, claims and fewer problems and fewer pressures being put on the hospitals and the health system if we took better care of ourselves. And we also know that women are the number one spenders.
Yes.
So if we're in good shape, if we're earning money because we're capable of working now, because we're balanced and we want to stay working, if we feel confident, we're going to have more spending, interest. We're going to have more sex, less divorces, more success in business. It's just, it's just such an obvious fix that it's not a token thing that we need to address. This is a permanent thing that is an evergreen issue for the female population. And the more education we can get out there to our girls when they're younger about all of this stuff, the easier it'll be on everyone.
100%. So a message to Mark and Rebecca: listen to our original Effie, Australian national treasure, and everyone will be happy. So thank you so much, Mary, for your time today. And
thank you, Grace.
We will keep fighting until we get what we want.
I love you and I love the work that you do. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, done!